Bidoof is one of the weirdest Pokemon in Pokemon Pocket, and we had to make an entire video just explaining how its attack actually works. Super Fang says, have your opponent's active Pokemon's remaining HP rounded down. But what does that mean exactly? Well, if I use Super Fang on this 60 health Shaman, it will halve its HP. So 60 divided by 2 is 30, leaving Shaman's HP at 30. But what happens if I attack it a second time? 15 rounds down to the nearest 10, and so Shaman is left with 10 HP. But now what happens if I use Super Fang again? Can Bidoof actually wipe out a Pokemon? Super Fang! Yeah, it does 10 damage, or 5 damage, leaving Shaman with 5 HP, rounded down. Makes sense, right? 5 rounded down to the nearest 10 is 0, and Shaman is defeated. It's super weird how Bidoof works that way, but Toshibinya is about to surrender, and you're gonna see something even weirder. Let's take a look at the victory screen. There's something I want to show you that's critical into exactly how Bidoof's attack works. If you look down below, damage done, 0. Wait, I clearly did 60 damage and knocked out a 60 health Shaman, right? Well, not exactly. Bidoof's attack doesn't do any damage. It only causes an effect to happen that reduces your opponent's health, but technically, it is not dealing damage. Why does that matter? Let me show you. Regirock can reduce 20 damage from Pokemon attacks. So in theory, if Bidoof did damage, it would do 60 damage reduced to 40, and Regirock would only take 40 damage. But, because Bidoof does not do any damage, it still does the full 60. Regirock's ability to reduce the damage does not apply, because no damage is being done. That's the weird thing about Bidoof. It's technically just an effect, and so it can bypass so many different Pokemon abilities. Regirock is just the start. Now, Regirock has a Poison Barb. In theory, anything attacking a Poison Barb will get poisoned, right? But watch what happens when the mighty overpowered Bidoof attacks. Not poisoned. It didn't technically attack Regirock. It'd be more accurate to say that Bidoof attacked the game itself, and the game, in recoil of pain from Bidoof Super Fang, decided to have Regirock's attack. Bidoof is literally biting through reality. That is how it works. Also, because Bidoof doesn't do any damage, stuff like Giovanni doesn't really work. Giovanni increases 10 damage, right? 10 damage, but since I'm using an attack that doesn't do damage, Giovanni doesn't apply. Shaman will still lose 30 health, not 40. Giovanni did nothing because Bidoof doesn't do any damage. Right now, we're going to test the same thing in reverse. Toshibinya uses Trainer Card Blue, which will make all Pokemon take 10 less damage from attacks. But as I've said over and over, Bidoof does not technically attack the opposing Pokemon. It attacks the game, and so Regirock still takes 20 from its previous 40 health. It was not reduced by 10 at all. Now here's where things start to get weird. Regice prevents all effects of attacks used by your opponent's Pokemon done to this Pokemon. We've established that Bidoof Super Fang is entirely 100% an effect. So, does it work on Regice? No! You could see, like, the Freyrin-style shield appear. Regice is immune to Bidoof, proving, I think very thoroughly, that its attack is really just an effect. But there's still an even weirder interaction with Bidoof that we've got to try. Kommo has the attack Clanging Scales, which is about to obliterate one of my Bidoofs. However, it will weaken Kommo and make it take 30 more damage from attacks going forward, but again, this isn't an attack. Can my Bidoof deal 30 more damage anyway? Because after all, Kommo's effect is kind of a self-effect. It's not exactly the same as another card. Let's see. Super Fang. Nope, it only does 80 damage, not 110. So it definitely is not affecting it. So far, Bidoof has noped anything that affects attacks, and it has only been affected by Regice. But there's one Pokemon that draws the line and crosses it between attack and effect, and that's Conkeldurr. One final test for our brave little Bidoof. Now, Conklidor's ability says if this Pokemon would be knocked out by damage from an attack, flip a coin. If heads, it's not really knocked out. But Bidoof doesn't do damage, and it doesn't attack. So in theory, Super Fang can knock out a 10 health Conklidor and never trigger Sturdy, or Guts as it's called in Pokemon Pocket. So it seems like, in conclusion, Bidoof does not attack the opponent's Pokemon, it just attacks reality itself. This has been the Sneaky Dragon. Subscribe if you enjoy these shenanigans, and we'll catch you later.